This episode on India's bank pension updation unpacks the ongoing Supreme Court case of MC Singla and others, exploring its significance for pension updation demands among Indian bank retirees. My name is Anil Agarwal, and my colleague and I, Sonia Patros, will break down the legal details, the stance of the Indian Banks Association, and analyze the recent ex-gratia decision. Listeners will learn why this case matters for personal finance and pensioners' rights.
Hey, my turn? Okay, so, pension updation? Basically, the push from retirees to have their pensions revised in line with current pay scales, right? The All India Bank Retirees Action Forum, or AIBRF, has really kept plugging away to get a decision in favor of retired bank employees. 7 years or so since they've been at it. I was reading that things reached a real turning point at their Indore meeting in January 2024, just after this new ex-gratia decision dropped. Almost like, okay, they got a small win, but it's not the big one they were after. The swirl of legal action definitely isn't done yet, pending as it is with the Supreme Court of India.
Yeah, the ex-gratia payment sort of shook things up, right? But the message from the AIBRF is pretty clear. They're not stopping just because of that. The document actually says, and I'll paraphrase, the IBA, that's the Indian Banks Association, is only going to consider updation after the various court cases. The big one being the MC Singla pension updation saga. So, still plenty of uncertainty for retirees. Many sadly, like the late MC, Singla has passed away, as this case continues its marathon through the courts.
It reminds me a bit of covering council pension battles in the UK. A couple of years ago, I had to report on a town hall meeting that just went on and on. Everyone was tired, but the pensioners kept coming back for more discussions year after year. Whoever said legal fights move fast never sat in these meetings. It's the same flavor here in India. Retirees pressing on, not just for the money, but for fairness and stability in their later years.
Absolutely, it's a marathon. And, in India, as anywhere else in the world, contentious or potential case laws can take years. So I think everyone's just trying to keep their hopes up, stay united, and not get swept up by social media rumors. According to IBRF, that's exactly what they're telling their members to do. Stay focused until something concrete happens. Okay, so with that context, maybe let's dig into the actual Supreme Court case that's at the heart of it all, the MC Singla matter.
Right. So, the MC Singla case. This goes all the way back to 2008. 9 retirees from Punjab National Bank first went to the Punjab and Haryana High Court, saying their pensions should keep up with RBI and central government schemes. They leaned on Clause 12 of the 1993 settlement, Regulation 56 out of the pension regs, and even these small committee minutes from 94 to make their case.
Yeah, I was looking at the judgment from the High Court. The single judge pretty much dismissed it, right? Said, the talks in 93 hinted rules would be framed for things like commutation and updation. But, here's the kicker. It wasn't taken up when the final regulations went through. Justice Cannon, I think his point was, you could bargain for it, but you don't have a right, so to speak, written into law at that stage.
Exactly. And then, when they appealed, the division bench echoed that. Clause 12 doesn't give the right, just says, we'll negotiate. Regulation 56 only gets triggered if there's doubt about interpretation. And they said, well, there's no actual doubt here. The petitioners just didn't have legal ground to demand RBI-level updation at that point.
It's interesting though, because while the legal route is critical, it's not the only way forward. There are some bigger issues at play here, like the concept of a defined benefit scheme and social security. These issues impact every Indian citizen, not just bank retirees. Isn't that so? The whole idea of pension updation ties into broader issues like social welfare. The lack of regular pension updates undermines the security that retirees should have. It's not just a technical matter. It's about the dignity of retirees and ensuring they're not left behind as the cost of living rises and inflation wreaks havoc with people's pension.
Then it gets to the Supreme Court. The petitioners filed a special leave petition in 2016, and that's still sitting in limbo, waiting for a final verdict. It'll come down purely to what's in those documents: the settlement, the regulations, and those minutes. No new arguments allowed at this stage. Makes you wonder what's not on the record, though. The AIBRF says all these broader issues, like the defined benefit promise, social security angles, bits about discrimination, or the famous DS Nakara and ORS. Where Union of India, 1983, case about pension parity, aren't really part of what the court's debating directly. So, the verdict's going to be quite narrow, isn't it?
The Nakara case, which laid down the principles of pension as a fundamental right for past services and not a bounty, etc., including pension updation under a defined pension scheme. It was a landmark case, and its principles are still relevant today. And yet, these points haven't been directly addressed in the MC Singla case, which weakens the argument in my view.
Exactly, because IBA's granting of ex-gratia actually does a few things. First, it shows that there's an acknowledgement of the need for pension updates. Sure, they're being given as a temporary measure, but it's not like the IBA is ignoring retirees anymore. And with these extra benefits, retirees might have a stronger case when pushing for the full pension updation. The ex-gratia doesn't prevent them from continuing to fight for their rights. In fact, it might just give them more leverage in negotiations.
True, although it makes you wonder what's not on the record though. For instance, AIBRF says all these broader issues, like the defined benefit promise, social security angles, bits about discrimination, or the famous Nakara case about pension parity, aren't really part of what the court's debating directly. My personal sense when you factor in the Nakara case is, it's a bit of a missed opportunity.
Oh, and Anil, remember the 100% DA case in 2015? The IBA used a similar argument. They basically told retirees, if you drop your court case, maybe we'll agree, but only from now on, not for past years. That split between prospective and retrospective benefits appears to be a leaf from the renowned British divide and conquer playbook. In the end, no consensus, so no settlement until way later in 2023, even after the Supreme Court loss in 2017.
Yeah, that tension is still there today. The IBA saying, let's wait for the courts, while retirees want proper ongoing adjustments, right? And meanwhile, the pending Supreme Court case gives the IBA a reason to hold off. Anyway, the ex-gratia thing fits in there now too. Should we look at whether that's really a win for retirees or just another delay tactic?
Yeah, let's get into it. Ex-gratia. A temporary relief, right? The settlement basically says, this is a one-off payment, not the regular pension revision you really want, and it's granted without any prejudice to ongoing demands. It lasts for 5 years, so it's clearly not a full solution.
Yeah, and the AIBRF seems, well, they see positives and negatives. On the one hand, nothing in the ex-gratia blocks the push for full pension updation later on. On the other, it gives retirees some extra money, so maybe that takes a bit of pressure off individuals for now. But it might also lessen urgency for institutional change. Divide and conquer. By another name, you reckon?
That's an interesting analogy. I thought the document made an interesting point. The IBA agreeing to this ex gratia, even temporarily, is almost an admission that something's not working with the current pension structure. Almost like, yeah, the retirees need help now. We can't just keep waiting for the courts indefinitely. That could actually strengthen the retirees' case, ironically.
I learned that a retired PNB officer said the ex gratia makes a difference for her monthly expenses. But if prices keep rising, 5 years is nothing. She's hoping this interim payment won't quietly replace the bigger promise of regular, updated pensions. So, for her family, and probably many others, the uncertainty is exhausting and creates an atmosphere of uncertainty.
Right. So, to round things off, whatever side you're on, the ex gratia isn't the end of the fight. The Supreme Court case still looms, and the push for systemic pension revision keeps going. It'll have ripple effects on personal finance for years. Thanks for digging through all of that with me, Anil.
Thanks, Vatsonia. Lots to watch in the months ahead. By the way, before we began the podcast, I visited the Supreme Court of India website at www.ksci.gov in latest orders slen for latest updates. But the latest orders page was blank. We'll keep tracking every legal twist, judicial updates, and report back to you, our listeners. Take care and see you next time.
Next week, we're covering the 100% dearness allowance case in the Supreme Court, 2015, for proper context on the MC Singla suit. Please share and subscribe to receive automatic notification when the 100% DA case drops. Thank you to all our listeners, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Namaste.